You've probably heard that gold and silver are climbing, but most people still think it's just inflation. But that's not it. There are 5 converging signs hiding in plain sight that point to a much bigger move. It's a historically accurate signal that never failed to predict major gold breakouts. So let's break this down. So these signs aren't just rumors, they're data backed. And if you understand what they mean, you'll know why. Now might be your last somewhat quiet chance to make some moves. This is worth talking about. All right, so I want to take a minute to share some thoughts in reference to just the recent gold and silver activity to continue to point to some of the key indicators that really highlight that we're in for some moves that we could never have imagined, especially as we draw closer to the Federal Reserve deciding to pivot or cut a quarter or a half a point or whatever it might come to at the end of the day. But I want to put together some things we're paying attention to. And of course, the whole goal is to continue to educate and encourage people to really take advantage of the opportunity of getting a hold of precious metals while you still can, while it's somewhat affordable as well as obtainable. And if you guys enjoy these little quick takes, definitely hit that thumbs up button, drop a comment down below, let me know your thoughts, let me know what you're keeping your eyes on, and also make sure you subscribe so you'll never miss an update when I put one out. But the first sign is the fact that the fiat currency is literally fraud. So let's start with the system itself. See, a fiat currency, which is paper money backed by nothing, is being debased in real time. See, every time the government prints money, your money or the currency you currently have is less. So this isn't speculation, it's by design. As economist John Maynard Keynes once said, by a continuing process of inflation, governments can confiscate an important part of the wealth of their citizens. So this isn't just about economics, it's about control. See, gold and silver are protection outside the system. And the more people wake up to fiat's planned collapse, the more they run to real assets. So this awakening is already underway and it's pushing metals higher as of right now. So we got silver at about 41 and climbing. And of course, gold is continually week by week reaching all-time highs at $3,600 at the time of this recording here. But it's approaching the end of the year. And it's good to say by the time we get to the December 31st, we will be at all-time highs, well beyond where we're at now. And the second point, the fact that the central bank gold boom is underway, and they're driving it. So here's something the media barely talks about. Central banks, the very institutions that have been propping up the fiat game, they're the ones hoarding the most gold. So Poland just announced that they want gold to make up about 30% of their reserve. And the question is why? Because they don't even trust the debt of their other nations. And they're not alone. So in 2024, they saw the largest year-on-year increase in central bank gold buying in decades. So when the system architects start hedging with gold, that's a signal you don't ignore. And then the third one, the Federal Reserve policy failure. It is baked into the cake that monetary policy will fail both governments and the people. And so the Fed told us that the labor market was strong. They told us inflation was transitory. They were wrong on all accounts. Revised labor data now shows we're entering a very weak job market. So we're heading to a very toxic combination of high inflation and high unemployment. So that's called stagflation. And gold loves that type of environment, obviously. So when the Fed realizes they can't fix this with rate hikes or pivoting, metals will spike for sure, as well as bond yields. And then the fourth one is obvious. Money printing plus interest rate cuts equals a grand fiasco. So we already know what they'll do next. Print more, cut rates, stimulate into the system screams. But here's what that really means. Money printing and rate cuts are like rocket fuel to gold and silver. And the obvious reason, both actions make fiat currency a lot weaker. And when confidence in fiat drops, gold and silver rise. So every time the Fed eases, metals react. And that's the case across every nation throughout every monetary cycle. And so we're about to enter into the next easing cycle. So therefore, you can anticipate gold and silver responding. And then the fifth one, and one of the most important ones, is the fact that real interest rates are deeply negative. So this one's the most important and the most misunderstood. See, let's do the math. If the Fed funds rate is 4.25%, give or take, and inflation, which is real inflation, not the fake CPI, is closer to about 10.7% or so, according to Shadow Stats, John Williams information, then the real interest rate is already negative 6.5 percentage points, give or take. So when real rates go negative, gold surges. So silver reacts even more violently. And so right now, the real rate is one of the most negative we've seen in years. And so that's not a forecast. That's a flashing red signal already happening at this current moment. So basically, to recap all 5, we have fiat is being exposed as theft and people are waking up. We got central banks are loading up on gold. We got the Fed is cornered and stagflation is starting to set in and become obvious. Then you got more printing and rate cuts, which are inevitable. And then you have real rates that are negative, and that's historically been the ultimate trigger for metal spike. So how high could gold and silver No one knows at this current moment because there's no ceiling to how high gold and silver can go when priced in a failing fiat currency, which has no floor. And so ultimately, the more printing they do, the more likely there'll be unlimited liquidity trade chasing a very scarce and finite amount of gold and silver. And so basically nobody knows the top, but based on these signs, we're just getting started. And so when silver runs, it doesn't walk, it sprints. And you better believe it's going to be hard to hide gold and silver shooting off to the moon. And so as always, I don't want to just share this information without also suggesting some recommendations as well. And so if you guys are interested, feel free to scroll down below and check out some of the resources of things I do myself and just a way of trying to keep people plugged into what's really going on out here. But anyway, curious to see what you think on these top 5. Drop a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. I'll catch you guys later.